Tonight, taking steps to address drug use in the province's schools, all in the name of safety.
We thought it was wise to have these conversations and to realize that the resource is required.
With opioid use on the rise, the education minister says Naloxone kits will be available in junior and senior high schools.
She may not have any classmates she's graduating with, but Maggie Long of Somerville has the support of a community and indeed an entire region to make her send-off from high school a great one. We'll have that story coming up.
If you were to go to the Avalon Mall to see a movie this week, you'd find 2 films by St. John's filmmaker Christian Sparks. Now, if that's a name that you didn't know, you're probably going to learn it. We're going to chat to him coming up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Government says it's taking a proactive approach to deal with the province's opioid crisis and is zeroing in on students. Naloxone kits are now available in junior and senior high schools. The education minister says she wants teachers and staff to be prepared should a student experience an overdose. The minister has previously refused multiple requests to discuss this decision, but spoke with the CBC's Mark Quinn at an unrelated event earlier today.
When we talk about the opioid crisis in general, we recognize that we are not immune to that here in Newfoundland and Labrador, and certainly not in our school system. So proactively, we thought it was wise to have these conversations and to realize that the resource is required and to put it into the hands of the teachers in our school system so that in the event, the unfortunate event that it is required, it is there for their use and their safety.
What would you say to someone who said this isn't necessary in schools in Newfoundland and Labrador?
I would challenge that person to say it to a family whose child had overdosed, and that would be a very different conversation. So I don't ever want to have to defend a decision not to provide a resource to a school or to a family or to a student who is in need. And I think proactively putting that in place, ensuring that there are staff members who are trained and know how to use this resource, this first aid, is very important. And certainly from my own background, I understand the challenges that come with opioid overdoses, and to have this resource in the hands of the staff at our schools was certainly important.
And I'm not aware of your background, so what?
I'm a registered nurse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So as a registered nurse, what did you see that made you aware of the necessity of naloxone kits?
There's certainly the numbers, the growing increase, and the challenges that are presented when we look at opioid use and misuse and addiction here in Newfoundland and Labrador and all across the country. So as I said, our school system is not immune to those challenges, and we recognize that doing this in advance of an unfortunate event certainly does give better opportunities for our school system to be able to provide supports to students and families.
Well, the federal Minister of Families, Children and Social Development was in St. John's today with funding for more childcare spaces.
Today, we are announcing that $13 million in federal funding will be provided to the province of Newfoundland and Labrador as part of the Infrastructure Fund to better support inclusive childcare. These dollars will help ensure that the province is able to meet its target of over 5,800 spaces by 2026.
Yeah, the $13 million is meant to create childcare spaces across the province, particularly in rural and remote communities and for families who may struggle with access to childcare. It may also help to provide care during non-standard hours. A recent provincial survey found hundreds of families are in need of childcare. The MHA for Labrador West is calling on the provincial government to increase its firefighting resources. As forest fire season begins in the area, Jordan Brown says there should be a water bomber stationed there. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
As raging fires force communities in Western Canada to evacuate and summer approaches across the country, the NDP's Jordan Brown says the province must put more firefighting resources into the area he represents.
Environment Canada has listed Labrador West is in a drought condition. We've had very little snowpack this year. The forests are drying up very quickly in Labrador West right now. We are in for a very dry, hot summer.
Brown says despite massive fires in neighboring Quebec last year, none of the province's 4 water bombers are stationed in Western Labrador.
The water bomber base in Labrador West was demolished in 2020. The plane was removed in 2018. We saw a massive degrading of services in Labrador West when it comes to wildfire services.
Brown says it's clear to him what needs to be done.
I would like to have my water bomber back. That would be a great step forward, is to give us back our water bomber that was in Labrador West since the 80s.
The minister responsible says there is a water bomber in central Labrador that can be moved to wherever it's needed.
It's monitored on a daily basis, but we now have it stationed in Happy Valley Goose Bay. But if from a risk perspective, if it need to be moved, say, to Wabush or wherever the case may be, then that will be assessed. And then the staff will make that determination, and I will be involved to give the go-ahead.
The forest fire season begins May 1st on the island portion of the province, and today, May 15th, in Labrador. It remains in effect for both areas until September 30th. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, to Alberta now, where, as you've just heard, several neighborhoods in Fort McMurray are being evacuated to make way for firefighters. Thousands of residents have been ordered to leave their homes as a wildfire burning south of the community continues to draw closer. That fire has now consumed nearly 21,000 hectares, and with shifting winds and rising temperatures, the fire is growing. Many people from this province live and work in that area. Cavell Dumaresque is originally from Labrador City. She says she's packed and ready to go, but many of her neighbors aren't waiting.
The road leading almost back to where I live, which is 10 kilometers, was just jam-packed with people leaving from the area that wasn't evacuated. They're not taking any chances. Lots of these people drove through fire, literal fire, the last time, and we're not taking any chances. So a lot of them were triggered. A lot of them have been triggered since Friday evening, and they're not taking any chances. They just packed up their families and went.
And we will hear more from Cavell Dumaresque in about 20 minutes on Here and Now. There are several protective measures homeowners can take to reduce the risk of wildfires. Ahead of the May 24th weekend, the provincial government wants people in this province to be fire smart.
Some initiatives that we can do to help protect our homes is within that initial zone is making sure we have our grass trimmed 10 centimeters or below, plants are well watered, any kind of evergreens that you have in your property, keeping them out beyond 10 to 30 meters if you can. Simple tasks this time of year that we're normally doing anyway, mowing lawns, cleaning up debris, dead branches, anything that might ignite with a touch of an ember. Simple tips are just keeping your grass mowed, trimming your branches up 2 meters above the ground so that a spreading fire can't get up into the ladder fuels where those forest fires can really ignite. Also, wood piles, keep them away from your home, out in the 30-meter-ish if you can. 10 meters is fine, but 30 meters is better. And what happens too is if you can keep your trees trimmed up, but also the distance between flammable shrubs and trees, keep that at 30 or 3 meters apart. So what happens is it can't spread from tree to tree and then ignite your home. Majority of our fires are human caused. So May long weekend, it's something to kind of remember. Make sure your forest fire or campfires are extinguished. So soak it with water, give it a good stir, soak it again just to make sure. It could be something as simple as dry grass going through on your quad can ignite a fire as well. And especially boggy areas, we tend to find that. So just preventive measures, just make sure your fires are out.
Well, we'll definitely be taking a look at the forecast for the long weekend a little later in the show. Unfortunately, it does show a bit of a cool down, although it is still chilly in some places, but a bit of a cool down as we head towards the weekend. We'll talk about that a little later, but for now, let's talk about what's happening right now. We've got an area of low pressure to the south, a couple of fronts associated with it, and depending on what side of the front you're on, your temperatures are very different. Area of low pressure to the north as well. That is bringing some showers to parts of Labrador, some colder air in behind that there, as you can see in some of the blue. But like I said, there's a bit of a warm front associated with this system. So anything to the left of the warm front in some cases is seeing some milder air as well. Now, as far as what's going on right now, fog's lifted a little bit out there now. It is 9 degrees. Wind chill feels more like 6 though. Visibility about 0.4 of a kilometer or 400 meters. And we've got that visibility really dropping across parts of Labrador, or Central as well. Gander down to about 800 meters. Now, the fog and drizzle will continue tomorrow, but some of us are going to see an absolutely beautiful day. I'll get into that a little later.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, police in St. John's took part in an annual memorial service today, honoring those who have lost their lives on the job. This is National Police Week, and this morning, members of the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary took part in the annual Peace Officers Memorial Day service. It was held at St. John's Seventh-day Adventist Church and honors police and peace officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty. The service also recognizes families, friends, and co-workers who are left behind to cope with the loss. A dedication parade and ceremony was also held at the site of the city's Police and Peace Officers Memorial. Well, in other news, the hall is booked. The photographer is ready. Friends, family, and school staff are excited for this year's high school graduation in Kings Cove. And so is the school's only graduating student. Here now's Troy Turner has that story.
Staff at St. Mark's School pride themselves on being the little school with a big impact. There are 23 students ranging from K to 12, which means plenty of one-on-one time with teachers. That's especially true for Maggie Long. This year, she's St. Mark's only grade 12 student.
Even though I didn't have like the regular high school experience, like I felt better. Like I didn't go into grade 7 scared of the grade 12s. I went into grade 7 knowing the grade 12s since kindergarten. So it was nice, like it's kind of like a family aspect.
But being the lone student isn't new. Long hasn't had a classmate in her own grade since grade 3. Over the years, she's grown accustomed to online courses, having classmates scattered across the province.
Because I didn't have like the teacher in school to like be on my back, like, oh, you gotta have this in the day. Like I had to keep track of everything on my own and like keep track of my tests and everything. So I really do think it helped me out for like to be more independent.
She may be alone, but Maggie Long doesn't feel lonely.
I can text my teacher on the weekend and be like, you'll never guess what happened, can't wait to see you Monday. They just know everything about me, and but it's not like a weird level, like there's still, you got that professional teacher-student thing, but it's still a nice like friendship too.
I don't think Maggie was ever by herself. With such a small school, we're more like a family than, you know, she's not alone any time throughout the day for any of her classes, because her CDLI courses, she's in a classroom with other students who are also working on CDLI. So I don't ever think that she once felt alone.
And with multi-grading too, like she's always been in a class like with either grades below her or above her. So she's never been just in a classroom all by herself.
And when it comes time to graduate, it will be no different. Plans for the St. Mark's High School graduation are well underway.
I have my grad dress and like a whole ceremony. There'll be speeches and dances and pictures. Basically what you would get at the school, only me and my mom have been planning it.
It's not a question of, oh, poor Maggie is not having a graduation. It was, when is Maggie's graduation? They know that she's going to have one, and, you know, so everybody's looking forward to it, I think.
A sentimental send-off for a special, one-of-a-kind student.
It's going to be emotional. I don't know if it's any more so because she's by herself, but yeah, it's going to be a tough one for me to get through.
I'd never say goodbye. I'm still in contact with lots of students via social media. I had a student who graduated here who became one of my best hiking buddies, where it's never goodbye when you leave a small school, I don't think.
You know, we joke around, and that corner, the one by the window, like that's her spot. It's Maggie's corner. So I actually kind of can't even imagine like what it's going to be like with her not being there. Like kind of makes you like want to cry a little bit, but I don't think it's going to hit us, I guess, until September when we start the school year, and it's like, oh my God, Maggie's not there.
Even though I do all my courses online, like I like coming in and like being with my friends and like being able to go hang out with them races and lunchtime. Like I'm going to miss that.
This fire hall will be packed come June 1st as Maggie Long is joined by friends and family, fellow students and school staff as they help celebrate graduation and give her a deserving send-off from high school while showing her more of that community support as she prepares to welcome life's next chapter. Troy Turner, CBC News, Princeton.
Well, swimmer Katerina Roxon made history yesterday at the Olympic and Paralympic trials. The 31-year-old from Kippens will be nominated for her record 5th Paralympic team. That's the most ever among Canadian female swimmers. The teams will officially be announced on Sunday. Roxon has already won gold at the 2016 Games in Rio, as well as a bronze medal in Tokyo at the 2020 Paralympics. And sticking with sports, a young hockey player from Bay Roberts will soon be playing for the top prize in Canadian junior hockey. Goalie Riley Mercer led his team to a Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League championship last night. Mercer led the league in all major goalie stats during the playoffs. The 20-year-old and his team will now play for the Memorial Cup next week against the winners of the Western Hockey League and Ontario Hockey League.
In Newfoundland and Labrador, it's a massive deal if you have one movie playing at the Scotiabank Theatres at the Avalon Mall in St. John's. But for filmmaker Christian Sparks, he finds himself in rare company, having not one but 2 movies playing here, The King Tide and this movie, Sweetland. If this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
It feels great. I mean, I came to this theater watching movies growing up. I was a huge movie buff. So to return now with 2 of your own films and have friends and family see the poster on the wall and get to pay money, get some popcorn, it's pretty great.
Don't leave it too long.
I shot Sweetland first. I had pitched Michael Crummy on adapting his novel, and he was responsive to the idea. I was a bit nervous when I wrote the script and sent it to him, but luckily he liked it and very kindly helped me make some revisions. About 3 years ago now we shot that actually, and I was busy in the edit room getting ready to get it out into the world, and then I got an offer to do The King Tide from a producer in Toronto, along with my producing partner Alison White. And I couldn't pass up the opportunity, so I had to put Sweetland on hold, and then I jumped right into The King Tide.
Many thanks to Isla.
The King Tide is kind of a dark fantasy. It's about a remote Newfoundland town, and a child with magical powers washes up on the shores. And for 10 years, the town has no illness and no death because of this child's magical powers. And then suddenly the powers go away and the town is thrust into chaos. I knew I had to film Sweetland within kind of an hour radius of St. John's. We shot as close as we could to that hour limit. It's just up the Southern Shore Highway in a small town called Briga South, which is a beautiful location because it's a little bowl and you can stand on top of the town and look over 270 degrees, and it's just very cinematic. And plus it still has the old fishing stages and the chipped clapboard, all that texture you want to suit Michael's novel. And I was lucky enough to shoot with some classic Newfoundland actors, a couple of heroes of mine, you know, Mary Walsh and Andy Jones in particular. Amelia Emanuel is in the film, Larry Barry's in the film. Yeah, just really talented, lots of talent around. So I just got back from doing a tour, a small little tour with Sweetland across Newfoundland with Michael Crummy, which was a real thrill. We went to Fogo and Bonavista and Gander, and we had sold out houses. That was really fun. And now Michael and I are going to Toronto. The film opens May 17th in Toronto and Vancouver, so we get to share it with the rest of the country. So that's gonna be great.
Didn't realize this village was still here.
We take great pride in that.
And how do you get to the mainland?
We don't.
I feel pretty happy with both films. Yeah, I mean, as happy as one can be. You know, by the time you end up talking about the films when they're made, at least for me personally, I'm already on to the next ones that I want to make. Michael and I, along with my friend Charles Picot, have written a new one already called Sea Change that we're working on, so I'm very excited about that. But I need to just learn to enjoy the moment while it lasts now and just take a breath.
Oh, we've got some fog out there now. That will be the story tonight. Tomorrow, some of us are actually going to see an absolutely beautiful day. I'll break all the forecast details down for you in a few minutes.
By the Healthcare Foundation. This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. The absolute final deadline is midnight Friday, June 7th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
You know, Ashley, I feel kind of silly this week because I'm back to wearing my parka. I don't know if anyone else is, but I just find it really cold and really wet, and I just want to wrap up.
Yeah, it gets you right down to the bone, for sure. This is the type of weather that we definitely see. That rain today, at least it was a little drier this afternoon than it was certainly this morning. Let's take a look at where we sat temperature-wise. It quite a bit warmed up into the afternoon. We were sitting at about 12 degrees in St. John's, but areas like Twillingate, Lassie, St. Anthony still only reaching about 3 or 4 degrees this afternoon. You can see just how widespread the temperature difference is across the province, really. 16 degrees, that was the warm spot, and that was in Happy Valley Goose Bay this afternoon. Corner Brook only topping out at about 8 because you saw rain for a good chunk of the afternoon. And Stephenville saw that temperature around 14 degrees. So if you take a look at where we are right now, we have, I don't know why I'm not going, there we go. The area of low pressure, like I said, and a couple of fronts associated with it. That cloud cover is slowly creeping east at the moment. We've got some clear skies up across parts of Labrador as well, but some shower activity still going on or ongoing across Labrador, and really it will continue to be unsettled over the next couple of days for sure. A little closer look at some showers that are developing across the Avalon. Those will work their way tonight across the Avalon tonight, and most of the heavier showers have moved offshore, but we do have some on the go as well for Green Bay, White Bay area and parts of the West Coast. But like I said, that cloud cover is starting to clear at the moment, so that will be nice for this evening. Temperatures are still pretty much sitting where they were this afternoon, 13 degrees in Stephenville. St. John's dropped down to 9 now, but it's still a beautiful evening again in Happy Valley Goose Bay at 16 degrees as far as those temperatures are concerned. Now, tonight we will see the cloud cover move in for, or at least move further east for the Big Land, and also the chance of some showers in the mix. Most of the island, again, will stay cloudy tonight with the rain, drizzle, and fog continuing. Patchy, though, especially as we get towards the morning hours. The southwestern portion of the island actually still looks pretty beautiful through the night. As far as the rain is considered, most of that has ended. We're still looking, at about a trace, maybe a couple of millimeters, but that's about it. Most of the heavy rain has ended, and we won't really see that for the next little bit. Temperatures tonight are going to stay around 4 to 7 degrees across most of the island, except for the West Coast, dipping tonight 1 to 2 degrees. Overnight winds, again, they haven't really been the story and won't be. Certainly not tonight, about 5 to 10 kilometers per hour, 10 to 15 up across Labrador, but quiet. 0 to about 2 degrees for the coast of Labrador with a chance of some showers. And that's just because you're seeing that onshore flow. Now, tomorrow, most of us are going to see those cloudy skies, at least for central, along the northeast coast and eastern Newfoundland. Again, the pattern really not changing a whole lot, but the west coast will clear out beautifully. Still unsettled up across the Big Land. You're still looking at the chance of a few showers in the mix as well. And eventually you'll see some sun, likely later in the day, and those clouds for the west coast will certainly be on the increase. Now, as far as the temperatures go for tomorrow, again, it will depend on where you are. It looks like the Avalon should see temperatures between 11 to 14 degrees. As you head along the northeast coast, anywhere in that onshore flow, we'll see temperatures cooler than that, 3 to 5 or even 6 degrees. Gander, you should hover around 8. You head towards the west coast, so look at those beautiful temperatures, mid to upper teens tomorrow afternoon with plenty of sunshine. Single digits, the story for the northern peninsula. And then the chance of some showers for parts of the coast, and even a chance of a few wet flurries up across northern portions of Labrador. But another beautiful day expected in Happy Valley Goose Bay with your daytime high near 16 degrees. Now, temperatures for you are going to stay mild over as we head into the long weekend, and we'll get into that forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Returning now to the developing situation in Alberta, where nearly 7,000 people have been ordered out of Fort McMurray due to a growing forest fire south of the community. Cavell Dumaresque was still standing by this morning waiting for word, but says many of her neighbors have already left. Dumaresque is originally from Labrador City, but has lived in the community for nearly 2 decades. She spoke with the CBC's Daryl Din earlier today.
Fires happen here every spring. Last year especially was a lot of smoke in the area for the entire May, June, July, August, and into September. That smoke from the northern Northwest Territories fires. So that was happening every summer. But for evacuations, Daryl, I've actually gone through 2 evacuations. The first one was when I went to visit my sister in Tumbler Ridge, BC for one summer. And I drove in and we had to drive out that night. So that was 15, 16 years ago. And we drove down to, I can't remember, the little community and stayed there for 2 days. And then we went back up again. Of course, 2016 was evacuation, and that was at a moment's notice. We were trying to get almost 80,000 people to leave a community. And of course, again, yesterday was, again, not an evacuation as in a last minute thing. It was days prior to, please have your bags packed. Everybody's on evacuation alert. Then yesterday, that alert changed for the southern communities like Beacon Hill, Gregoire, and Abisan, be on 2-hour notice. And then that 2-hour changed to please evacuate. But as for me, in my area, we haven't been told to evacuate yet.
But you are packed and ready to go when
I have
when
my
or if the
suitcase.
call happens.
Yep, the suitcase is in the truck, ready to go.
You know, growing up in Labrador City, we used to have the odd forest fire that sort of came close to town, but really been quite lucky and fortunate for Labrador City and Wabash. But what's it like to have this sort of occurring more and more?
For a lot of people, it's extremely stressful. So yesterday, when the Beacon Hill area got their 2-hour warning, that was it for them. They were ready to go. They were leaving. And then when I came home around 2:30, the road, I posted a video on my Facebook, the road leading almost back to where I live, which is 10 kilometers, was just jam-packed with people leaving from the area that wasn't evacuated. They're not taking any chances. Lots of these people drove through fire, literal fire, the last time, and we're not taking any chances. So a lot of them were triggered. A lot of them have been triggered since Friday evening, and they're not taking any chances. They just packed up their families and went.
And how are these evacuations being communicated to residents?
Very well at this point. Just to give you an example, when I drove home yesterday, so when I got past a certain area, I saw that the RCMP had blocked traffic going south so that Beacon Hill, Abisan, and Brayland Terrace could evacuate because they were the ones told to go. So nobody else was allowed to leave. But that cleared up early last evening, and the road was open, I'd say by maybe 7:30.
How are things looking, and what sort of the latest reports you've been told?
The fire size is approximately 21,000 hectares, 4.5 kilometers from Highway 63, Highway 8081 intersection, approximately 5.5 kilometers from the landfill site. So that's what's happening now. It's quite smoky. It is 11 degrees here, so it's quite cool. And the high that it's supposed to reach today is 16. And we did get a little bit of rain overnight, but not enough to do any damage to the fire. And more is expected.
For your friends and family out east, is there anything you'd like to say to them?
I'm safe. Between social media and FaceTime and all of that, it's easy to keep in contact and find friends. They all see my dot on Find Friends.
Well, Cavell, thanks so much for sharing your experience, and hope you get to stay put, but stay safe no matter what happens.
Thank you, Daryl.
When you see kids in it, it's pure magic because they're just twirling around, running around, following the colors and twirling with the brush strokes. And that's just a great way of showing that his work communicates with everyone.
I'll skip through the sunflowers and stroll under the starry night. Iconic paintings turn cinematic for the exhibit Beyond Van Gogh, the immersive experience, and it's coming to St. John's this summer. From Starry Night to sunflowers, images of hundreds of Vincent van Gogh's iconic masterpieces will be on display during an immersive exhibit coming to St. John's this July. Over 300 of Van Gogh's creations will be projected onto the walls and ceilings of the convention center. Fanny Kierta is the art historian for the show Beyond Van Gogh, an immersive experience, and she tells us what it's like to go inside the art.
Beyond Van Gogh is really about blending cutting-edge projection technology along with Vincent's body of work, and this blend allows the audience to literally be part of the paintings. It allows this connection with his world, with his colors, with his energy that infuses his work, and you get to be in the middle of it. It's something that is actually quite hard to describe because that's what the immersion is all about. It's about feeling it. It's about being in it. When you see kids in it, it's pure magic because they're just twirling around, running around, following the colors and twirling with the brush strokes. And that's just a great way of showing that his work communicates with everyone. If ever you get the chance to see an original Van Gogh, and I highly encourage everybody to do so because there's no way an experience like this is meant to replace the aura of an original Van Gogh. There's magic there, but there's just something phenomenal about being inside this work that is known for its color, for its movement, for its energy. And if you find yourself in front of an original, it already looks like it's moving because it's so vibrant, it's so energetic. And so the motion designers only had to do this little push to make it so lively around you. He did the heavy lifting himself. So an experience like this is a unique way of looking at something that you might either be familiar with, and that speaks to an audience like me who already know and love his work and who get to experience the fantasy of being inside of it. And for an audience that's maybe not likely to experience museum or don't feel a connection with them, some people feel intimidated by museum, then it's about the pure magic of connecting to his art in a different way. And so, of course, in an experience like this, you'll have pieces that people will recognize, like the sunflowers. Being in the middle of Starry Night is something magical, but the whole experience is really about this range of experiences and audiences that can connect with this work. His work is about appreciating nature and the beauty of life and the moment and the pure joy of it. And the other part has to do with that, is that we tend to forget the joy in his work because of the drama and the darkness that accompanies his life. We know Van Gogh for Starry Night, but mostly for the ear cutting incident. And there's something really sad with the fact that all of his life, this beautiful work is summed up in this dramatic moment, the lowest point in his life, where you look at his work and it's beautiful, joyful color. It's about vibrancy of healing colors and healing nature and all of these things that we can connect with. So it is really about going beyond the darkness of the myth and into the work itself to really experience how powerful it is. This is a play on scale, so it needs a lot of space. You need to be able to breathe, to feel this whole world vibrating around you. And so it takes about a week for a team of very, very skilled technicians to put all of this together. The producers, Paquin Entertainment Group, a Canadian company, is sort of a leader in this type of industry. So they've nailed it down to a science and they put it up really quickly. It's all about the projection mapping, the screens, and all of this dark magic that allows you to really feel like you're in a seamless world, just surrounded by Van Gogh's world. Usually convention centers are such great opportunities for us because they are used to housing different projects. They have already a structure that is in itself very flexible, malleable. And in this case, it's also something about being in the center of the community and allowing a lot of people to experience it, having the space to do so. And so we're so excited to bring it here over the course of this project, like I said, we created it during COVID, so that's 4 years now, and the enthusiasm for a project like this has just been incredible to watch, and to see the community building around this and towns wanting to feel this experience and very happy to be part of it is just really magical.
Yeah, I was touched and moved and really thought about all the work she had done and how powerful it was and the influence it has had.
St. John's writer Lisa Moore is weighing in on the life and legacy of author Alice Munro. That's still to come. Canadian author Alice Munro died yesterday at the age of 92. While Munro lived most of her life in rural Ontario and set many of her stories there, the influence of those stories has been felt far and wide, including here in this province. Novelist and writer Lisa Moore of St. John's says it was a shock to learn of the death of such an influential writer.
I was writing And I got a text from a woman in New York who I had worked with, a composer, who said, Lisa, I'm really sorry to hear about Alice Munro. I'm sure that you are feeling that today. Something along those lines. The shock of the text actually brought tears to my eyes. I was touched and moved, and really thought about all the work she had done and how powerful it was, and the influence it has had on the short story, on my own work, on pretty much everybody's work, I think. You know, there are women in her stories who just have tremendous amounts of desire, and they're not always nice about it. They're not always morally correct about it, and but I think she sort of threw out the idea of niceness when it comes to women. I think she portrayed women as desirous beings in a way that I had not seen in literature before, especially when you think of the great male story writers. This was new, and it was messy, and it was really female centered, and I would say because of that, very feminist. I think she threw out the stereotype of women like Jane Eyre, who's, like moral and good and quiet and subservient, and just busted that wide open. And not just a physical desire, but an intellectual desire. Her characters, in many stories, go to university for the first time in generations of families. They're the first generation to go to university, and we see that here in Newfoundland too. There are lots of people at the university who are going. They are the representative of their family who are going to university for the first time. And in some of Munro's stories, these women are scholarship students. And so the other great thing she's really good at is a kind of marriage of feminism and class, like just really good at showing the calibrations of sexism and also what it means to be clinging on by your fingernails financially or being very, very rich.
Fisheries and Oceans has partially shut down some fishing in the Gulf of St. Lawrence for a period of 2 weeks. This after an endangered right whale was spotted entangled in fishing gear off New Brunswick. Brett Ruskin has more on that story.
There are so few North Atlantic right whales remaining in the ocean that scientists have been able to name each and every one of them. So this whale that we're speaking about today is, well, EG4510 or Sheila. It was spotted by DFO flyovers with Cessna planes that crisscross the Gulf of St. Lawrence. There's also undersea acoustic gliders that have been deployed by researchers to listen for whales. The planes are looking for whales. When one is detected, there is a zone, a 2,000 square kilometer zone or so, where DFO says there's no fishing allowed for 15 days using fixed line traps. So those long lines that connect buoys on the surface to heavy traps, either crab traps or lobster traps on the bottom, that in some cases snare and snag whales as they swim past. Those traps are being removed as we speak by crews in that 2,000 square kilometer zone in an effort to try to prevent any additional entanglements around Sheila, the whale, or any other whales that are traveling with Sheila. Again, the North Atlantic right whale is this critically endangered species, travels up the eastern seaboard every year, likely following food up to warmer waters, and enters the Gulf of St. Lawrence, where there is all that fishing gear waiting for them. So this is this effort to create this zone to protect whales that are spotted is the same kind of regulations and rules that have been in place same as last year as well. Something that is inconvenient but necessary according to some fishing crews, but inadequate according to some conservation groups. There's about 350 to 360 of these animals left in the oceans, and there's already been 4 confirmed deaths this year. So what's going to happen with Sheila? Well, DFO crews are going to be once again in the air looking to see if they can spot her again. if conditions present themselves and if conditions are perfect to allow for an operation to try and go and visit the whale to do a disentanglement operation, they will consider that in the days ahead. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Halifax.
McGill University in Montreal has been denied an injunction to dismantle the pro-Palestinian encampment on its downtown campus. McGill's lawyers argue the demonstration poses risks to security and hygiene. They also said it's disrupting the school's plans for the upcoming convocation ceremonies. The encampment is now in its third week, and this is the second failed injunction attempt. The judge said McGill did not prove there's any urgent need to remove the encampment and said there haven't been any serious or violent incidents since the tents went up. An intense and widespread manhunt is underway in France. More than 450 officers are looking for a notorious criminal known as the Fly, who was freed in a deadly ambush in a prison convoy yesterday. Gunmen rammed a stolen car into a prison van and opened fire as the criminal Mohamed Emra was being transported back to jail following a court appearance. 2 guards were killed and 3 were seriously wounded. Emra is known as a drug dealer with a lengthy criminal record and a history of violence. Police are also searching for the 30-year-old's accomplices. right, now we get to look ahead, and it's Wednesday, so we get to have a better look at how the weekend is shaping up. And seems to be later in the weekend, like Sunday seems to be the better day. At least that's the way it's been going this week.
Potentially. We'll see. There's been a bit of a change in the forecast. It actually looks like things are going to cool down a little bit, unfortunately. But let's take a look. This is the time of year where we start to see some blocking patterns set up or things change. Just that little bit of wind shift will make all the difference. But for now, this is your Thursday evening and into Friday. That area of low pressure that has been our weather maker still sitting there. Does look like we'll see some showers move back in for Friday morning. Again, that onshore flow will continue. Chances some flurries, wet snow up across northern portions of Labrador. Otherwise, just the chance of some showers through the day. And we'll see the clouds on the increase for Lab West through the afternoon. The trend across the island should be to clear out, except along the northeast coast where you're still in that onshore flow. You may see a few showers on the southwestern portion of the island, but other than that, it will be a fairly quiet day, and temperatures are going to be mild yet again for those of you on the west coast. 18 degrees in Corner Brook. You head further east, though, temperatures will start to cool down. 7 degrees in Gander, same thing for St. John's. Along the south coast of the island, again, away from that onshore flow, you're looking at temperatures between 12 and 14 degrees. Labrador also looking at some mild temperatures, 15, 16 degrees, except, again, towards the coast, 2 to 6 degrees will be your daytime highs. As we head into Saturday morning, a ridge of high pressure starts to dominate the weather picture, but it's going to be still cloudy, still the chance of some showers through the day, at least through the first part of the day up across Labrador. And the island, things will start nice, at least through the morning hours, but it does look like we'll see some cloudy skies, more like periods of sun and cloud through the day. Still a little bit of that onshore flow, so where we're seeing that, we could see some patchy fog and cloud cover, but some showers will make their way back in for Lab West and then towards central Labrador through the evening. But overall 12 to 14 degrees for you. Temperatures still mild for the west coast, about 17 degrees in Corner Brook, 12 to 13 through central, and I'm keeping that temperature in the single digits for St. John's on Saturday as well. Same thing for the northern peninsula, but again, south coast 10 to 13 degrees through the afternoon. 7s across the board as we head into the beginning of next week. Looks like it will dry out a little bit, which will be nice. There's a trend next week that we could see some mild air finally, but that flip-flopped again this forecast, so I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that one. But as we head into Monday for central Newfoundland, you're looking at a nice stretch of weather. Same thing for the west with some sunshine. And then as far as Labrador is concerned, your temperatures really staying somewhere between 13 to 15 degrees, a little warmer on Monday with the return of some of those showers, and same thing for western Labrador. 14 to 15 degrees with some rain from Saturday through to Monday. Now this is a beautiful shot, a colorful sunset. This is New Harbour, Trinity Bay, and Laura Lee shared this shot with us. And yeah, lovely shot there. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, you can do that by sending them to my Facebook page, but the best place is email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Thank you very much for that, Laura Lee. Beautiful shot. Not going to see a sky like that tonight with all the foggy weather out.
The RDF.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, maybe things will turn
Yep.
around. If we
Yep.
have like a foggy May, maybe we'll have a beautiful June, right?
Let's hope. Fingers crossed.
All right, that's it for us on that optimistic note. Hope you can join us again tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching.
Good night.